Good morning, everyone. Thanks for joining us on this Friday morning. Dr. Tina, good morning. Are we ready to talk retracing today?
We sure are, Dr. Chris. Thank you, Sarah. Welcome, everyone. And Sarah, you mentioned you can get 10 years younger within the next 6 months. And we're going to talk about how you can do that, but it's not always an easy thing. It's a good thing, but it's not always easy. And that's how we're going to talk about retracing today. And retracing is when you take something so therapeutic as Tello유스 and you bring that into your body and you're doing really well. And then all of a sudden you're still taking it, but then all of a sudden you're losing your energy, you're feeling fatigued, you might have headaches. That is what we call the healing response or retracing. It's the cleansing that the body now has enough energy to do to remove toxins and debris and old cells that eventually, if you did not clean them out, would create a problem down the road. So it's just like we have to clean our home. When we clean our home, it's always dirty when we're in the middle of cleaning it before it looks spick and span. And so it's a process that gets like stuff just gets kind of stirred up in the body and in the bloodstream, and we feel that as it's moving out. So that's our retracing that happens very often with Tello유스. And Dr. Kriska, you want to talk about the 5 phases here?
Sure. And just think of it as a journey, right, Dr. Tina? If you're not retracing, you're not rejuvenating. And this is how people can better understand how Tello유스 works, because we get stuck into these various phases of, our stress response to our environment and things going on in our bodies and microbes. And as we continue to deal with these stressors, we go down the path of trauma. And the body goes through various phases. And if you are taking something therapeutic as Tello유스, then you have the ability to rejuvenate, reverse these phases. And this is the journey that we're going to help you understand and explain today. So how to move from imbalance or disease and back to health and balance. Let's talk about each one on the next slide, Dr. Tina. Here you see the various phases explained a little bit more, and it starts out with, in the beginning, it's just an excretion phase. And, if it's exertion, the muscles perspire. If it's a buildup on the lining of the mucosa, you expel mucus. In the ears, we have earwax. Lactic acid builds up in the muscle tissue. This is how we feel the pain from over-exertion, over-stress. Even the grunge in our eyes, the eye crud, these are all part of the excretion phase. So you see, as the stress continues, we decline through these phases. And I say decline because we're moving more and more towards dysfunction. So we go to irritation after excretion. If it isn't resolved at that level, you see redness, swelling. In the gut, it's more, gassy and bloating, constipation. But if it increases, if it doesn't resolve itself, we go into the inflammation state. And the inflammation state is where you have really much more pain and swelling and redness. And you go to the doctor and he just, attaches the itis name to it. So if it's in the joints, it's arthritis. If it's in the tonsils, the throat, it's tonsillitis. If it's in the lungs, it's pleuritis. So the inflammation state is the itis stage. And believe it or not, if we continue to decline, these areas start to harden or encapsulate. And this is how the body tries to protect itself. So you have this inflamed area that's threatening the whole system. So it tries to isolate it, and it does it by creating a sclerotic condition in the tissue, meaning it hardening in the tissue, or it'll develop a growth or a cyst or a tumor around some part of the body that is out of balance. So in the liver, it's called cirrhosis. In the joints and the muscles, it's sclerosis, sclerotic states. These are just hardening states. And if the dysfunction continues and we stay stuck in this decline with the stress, then we lose the function of those parts of the body. This is functional breakdown. So it can be experienced as numbness. It can be experienced of lack of function, like in the brain, dementia, and you lose our mental clarity and our memory. So these are all different stages. Dr. Tina, do you want to add anything here?
Yeah, I just want to give the example that, when we get to that neuropathy state, neuropathy is when we don't feel like, in our feet or our hands or part of the body. And when those nerves are deadened or hardened, when that function loss state, that's pretty extreme, right? And when it starts to reverse, when you start taking Tello유스, all of a sudden, you have this electric feeling that starts to move back through those nerves, and it can be extremely uncomfortable, sometimes even painful, because it's kind of like turning on a light switch and the electricity is moving back through those nerves. And so you move back through these different stages, and it can be really tricky when you get to that inflammation state. And it's so interesting to me when somebody says, wow, I couldn't feel my feet, but now it hurts. I think I'm getting worse. We say, no, it's getting better. You're getting feeling back into that area. Keep going, because eventually it'll just move to redness or a dull pain, and then eventually it will dissipate. So that is one example. And then it gets very tricky in that inflammation state, that middle state, because when we feel the pain, when we're taking Tello유스, let's say we're not feeling pain and the pain increases, or the swelling that increases, this is when we get completely confused and we want to stop the process. We can't express how important it is that you keep going. Now you can lower your dose or you can increase it, but this is when people get extremely confused, because you end up in that inflammation state. And if you stop, you're going to move back up into that, hardening state or the non-functional state. So you want to keep going to keep the body going backwards in reverse. And when we are dealing with chronic inflammation, so many people do not understand this, but the body is always in silent inflammation before it becomes chronic. So there's always been this dull fire, this thing going on before you actually feel it. Okay. And this can be very damaging to the body when we're stuck in this inflammation mode. So you can see all of these things listed here of what can happen. Now, it's interesting when I'm working with somebody that needs to lose weight. If we do not resolve the inflammation state, it's very difficult to lose weight. And this is when you're stuck. You've all heard us, if you've been on our webinars, talking about the stress defense mode. This is when the body's in that heightened stress defense mode, and we've got to get the body unlocked and start reversing back and putting out that fire a little bit more and a little bit more and a little bit more on the daily basis, so that we can get the body out of inflammation and the body can move into the rejuvenation mode. And Dr. Chris, do you want to talk about what some people are feeling when they're going through this retracing?
Sure. I'm not feeling very well. And it's just part of the body's natural physiology. So we feel fatigued. And as Dr. Tina said, we often have these low-grade inflammatory states, but that's because of low-grade infections. And when you have an invasion from any type of microbe, the body learns to shut off its energy production and go into a defensive strategy. So instead of the body making energy in every cell, it's in a defense mode. It's trying to scavenge the microbes or reduce the inflammation from some type of toxin or debris that's built up. So you feel fatigued, and when we reverse this, like we have a sclerotic state, as we mentioned earlier, that hardening all of a sudden becomes accessible again, and circulation comes in, the nervous system reconnects, and you start to feel the pain and things. So these are all different symptoms of those reversals. And so excessive thirst, the body starts to hydrate again because it's got circulation, so you need more water. This is why it's so important to be on a cleansing diet. Detoxification increases, so support the body with the detoxification. You can feel headaches, gas, or bloating. Headaches can come from all different sources of imbalance in the body. Flu-like symptoms. These are symptoms that you want to have because it's how the body cleanses and detoxifies. So you need the rest and repair to be emphasized. Strange pains. These are the things that you've forgotten about, an old injury, and all of a sudden you feel it again, and you just wonder, wow, why does my ankle hurt again? When you forget that when you were, an 8-year-old, you fell out of a tree and sprained your ankle. So all of these things are part of understanding, the different symptoms that the body shows us. Skin rashes. Skin is the emergency exit system. So if your liver and your kidneys and your bowel and your lungs aren't expelling the waste sufficiently enough, it's going to come out of your skin because the lymphatics are overwhelmed. Constipation, runny stools, we talked about. Not something fun to talk about, but it's a reality, and this is what we'll go through. Emotional states, strange dreams. Dr. Tina, I know I've shared a lot of clients with you and told you to help them understand their different moods and things. Can you want to talk a little bit about the kinds of things like the different emotional states we can go through, and even it reflects itself in these strange dreams?
Yeah, absolutely. I love when somebody has strange dreams because that is the emotional body that is releasing some of what we call that suppressed emotional energy. Our body, whether we mentally know it or not, we remember on an imprint level, an energetic level in our cells. We remember everything that we've ever experienced in the body. However, our mind might not. So just to give you an example, let's say that, you had a horrible breakup in your teens and you never really faced it. You never really faced the sadness. You never really, dealt with the hurt. And, next thing you know, you're experiencing heart issues and you start Telloyuth because you've had heart challenges, circulation challenges, and you start Telloyuth and you go through a retracing process where, you're just kind of hating everything right now. Well, or you're going to cry. You're going to have this emotional release, or you might even have a memory of this breakup when you were younger. All of these cells, as they start to turn over and go through the retracing process, will probably kick up some kind of memories. If you don't remember it and you're resistant to it, then it'll come through in your strange dreams for you to release those energies. Everything is energy. So anything that we're thinking is just repetitive thoughts are just a belief. That's all. Repetitive thoughts are what we believe. So if you have fearful thoughts, think about this. Fear is held in the kidneys. When people have kidney issues, there's a common emotional suppressed of fear, where they are not dealing with the fear and clearing that and moving forward. And the body does this because it needs to take care of itself. It's its way of being able to keep in balance. If all emotions, because they're energy, landed in the heart, so many people would just have heart issues. So anger with the liver, sadness with the lungs, worry with the stomach. So when you start to really break these things down and look at where you're feeling or having this retracing, there is an emotional aspect to it as well. So what are the common questions? How do I know if it's good or bad? Well, if you're doing good things and you're feeling the retracing, then it's a good thing. If you are introducing alcohol, smoking, or toxins or negative emotions into this, then you know it's a bad thing. So just know that how you feel and what you're thinking can also help you with your retracing or set you backwards. So always work to get into that good place, get in touch with that. Is this different from a medical side effect? Absolutely. When you're taking a medication and you look online at what those side effects are of that medication, if you are feeling those side effects, that means that you are taking something that's toxic, that's creating a side effect. In other words, it's not good. It's too strong. You're feeling the side effect. When you're taking Tello유스, you're taking something good. You're experiencing your body's letting go of the toxins that are in the body. So it's not a medical side effect. It's a good thing. It's just releasing all of the things that you've been holding on inside the body that we need to get rid of, right? How long does it last? We have no idea. We have some people that go through retracing in 24 hours. We have some people that go through retracing, up to 2 weeks. It just really depends. It depends. Are you doing good things? Drinking a lot of water, taking your soak baths, resting. The biggest thing that we see is people will not listen to their body and they will override it and they will just keep taxing their adrenals, their cortisols will stay high because they keep pushing when their body is telling them they need to rest. So this is a time to really connect with your body. So many people are just disconnected and we need to really let the body be the barometer and tell us what we need to do. And does it happen only one time? Goodness, no. It will happen more than once. And everybody is different. So we don't know how often it's going to happen. But we've been down this retracing road, Dr. Chris and I, for years, and we still will feel the retracing. Will I always feel it? Most likely, but sometimes, let's give you the example. When the body's full of cholesterol and the body's cleaning itself out, we aren't always going to notice when that cholesterol, we're not going to feel that cholesterol coming out of the body, right? Out of those arteries. However, let's say you go to the doctor and your cholesterol, your blood work comes back and says your cholesterol is higher than it was before you started taking your Tello유스. The cholesterol is just circulating through the bloodstream in that moment in time. So we tell people, make sure that when you're doing your blood work, you're being really aware of, are you going through a retracing process or not? Okay. So after you take your Tello유스 for 6 months is really a better time to go get your blood work. Do I have to retrace to reverse aging? Yep. I hate to break it to you, but the answer is yes. You do have to go through retracing, and it's time to embrace that, right? You need to embrace it and know it's part of the process. And Dr. Chris, what can people do to help them?
Well, first of all, they really need to have patience with themselves and also support their Tello유스 program with a good, healthy lifestyle. It's interesting, individuals, they're sick and tired, and all of a sudden they get tired of being sick and tired, and they say, I want to reverse this, and they want it to happen overnight. And it just doesn't work that way because it took them years to go down this path, years to go into these more advanced phases and stages of the degeneration in the body. So here's the way to go, and this supports the Tello유스. when you really have a chronic condition, you need a lot. You need the rejuvenation program. But now you can understand why Dr. Tina and I recommend, the company recommends that you start slow and build up to that stage where you're taking more of the Tello유th throughout the day. But in the beginning, you just to start with the wellness plan, but you support the process more efficiently if you can drink more, pure, clean water. And it's important to help the fluids move through the system, and it requires good hydration. And we're not talking about, soda pops and other liquids. We're talking about good water or healthy teas. And then hot soak baths, using Epsom salts. It's a great way to just help the skin just detoxify and it just works itself through the body, because remember, the skin is an emergency exit system. So if we can relieve the stress on the skin, it relieves the lymphatics, and it takes a lot of the stress off of the liver and the kidneys. So we're helping the body with this cleansing and detoxification. You change the amount of Tello유th you take. If you're taking a lot and you start to detoxify, you can slow it down a little bit. Don't stop, but just slow it down. Take a little bit less and then increase it in a few days, because you're starting to feel better again, and now you can handle the rejuvenation properties of the Tello유th that will facilitate, this cleansing to continue. Exercise is important, and it's because movement, your lymphatics don't have a pump like the bloodstream. So you need to exercise to move the lymphatic system, because this is your drainage system. But that exercise needs to be light, because you don't want to stress the body. You want to facilitate its cleansing. And so light movement and in nature as much as possible, because this is where we reconnect to our primal energy sources. The light from the sun is how everything is evolved, and our connection to the electromagnetic field of the earth. So getting out into nature with the good air and the, the connection to the earth and to the sun is so important. Eating lightly, so good cleansing foods. We'll show you some tips there on the cleansing diet, and make certain your body is eliminating waste. So those are all the different areas we're talking about today with the lungs, by good breathing and the hydration to support the kidneys, the fluid elimination, and the liver is supported with breaking down the fats that we've built up in the body, and of course the good fibers needed for the bowel. So addressing your emotional states of well-being, see a practitioner if you need to, or find a good way to just really get back to that center that you need, and just good sleep. Rest is so important. Honor the body. If it's tired, give it some good rest. Dr. Tina, anything to add?
Yeah, I just want to give some guidelines on the water. A lot of people ask, well, what kind of water? You say, make sure you're drinking enough. And minimally, it's 50% of your body weight in ounces. So if you weigh 150 pounds, it's 75 ounces a day, and you might need to increase it. So that's minimally while you're going through, the retracing process. And then so many people, they just don't even feel like walking or lightly exercising. One of the other things you can do to help your lymphatics is dry brushing. And just go to YouTube and look at some things there on how to do dry brushing properly. And if you are not eliminating through the bowels, you're constipated, there's a little trick with slippery elm. It's an herb that will help with constipation in addition to your Tello유th. And, be kind to yourself and everybody else around you, because when your anger comes up, do not take it out on road rage. When your anger comes up, do not take it out on your person, your other person in your home, maybe your persons, and just really see, are you playing victim? Are you feeling sorry for yourself? Are you blaming others? Are you avoiding really, going through the process? You really need to step back and just be gentle and know and appreciate and embrace again this process. And here are some of the top anti-inflammatory foods, the ones to key in on when you are going through the retracing process are the lemons and limes and berries, perfect. The green tea, the non-starchy dark green vegetables, add in your bone broth and vegetable broths. Soups are absolutely wonderful when you're going through this process. Even a little bit of the fermented foods to help with the gut microbiome. But, keep it light. And that way your body's not using the energy to digest, it's using the energy to continue the cleansing process. Dr. Chris, is there anything else you'd like to add?
This is a recommendation for anti-inflammatory foods, but when you're cleansing and going through the healing response, the retracing, you want to choose the foods that are very light. So you wouldn't do the heavy, flesh proteins. You would do more of just, broths and get your proteins from, boiling the meats and getting your, different types of foods and minerals and things that you need from the lighter foods that are here. And then, of course, all the different herbs and spices that we show. So just wanted to add that because food can become a stress. It's one of the hardest energy functions of the body is digestion. So you want the foods that digest quickly and that are very light and low stress on the body.
And always really go through and keep your rejuvenation record handy. You want to be able to track what's happening. So let's say in your first and second month, your pain and inflammation is really at a minimal, and third month, it really gets tough. Well, we know that you probably hit something that had silent inflammation, or you had a hardened area or a place that was numb or something, and all of a sudden the energy is trying to work back into that area and it inflames a little bit. Just know that, over time and patience and doing all the other good things, it will come back down. Okay. So there will be different areas that you'll be able to feel or sense will go up and down based on, your own unique journey. Everybody has their own unique genetics, their own unique things that they've been exposed to, emotions. All of this plays a role in how you move through your rejuvenation process. And we want to thank you for joining us. Just a reminder, be kind with yourself, be kind to everyone around you, and let them know, hey, you need to grant me immunity because I'm going through a cleansing process and I need you to support me. And usually that's very helpful to let people know that you're going through that. It's also been
and just in closing.
Yeah.
This isn't something that Dr. Tina and I just invented. This is what all the traditional healing systems understand and have been teaching for hundreds of years. So it's about learning how your body works and how it heals and repairs. And, take some time and really invest your time and effort in learning this process and how your body works, because it's unfortunate. We know more about our cars and our computers than we do about our bodies. And this is why we so appreciate all of you that come onto the call and, just to take in this information, and we love teaching it. So